All right. Welcome to what we're going to call episode 33 of the Athletic Philosopher podcast. 33. Hey, that's a great number. St. Patrick's number. My favorite goalie, my favorite athlete growing up. St. Patrick Waugh, 33. How fun. I am your host, Jordan Goldstein, former university professor in sport history, sport philosophy, sociology, a little bit of psychology. We did article writing, we did paper presenting, we did lecturing, we did all the things that the profs are supposed to do. We did book publishing. We did a little bit of it all. But now we don't do any of that anymore. I am deep and committed to the world of coaching, fitness and life coaching intertwined for my one-on-one people, the tribal prof for tribal training, mindset performance, trail running extraordinaire, and all things artistic and creative when it comes to being a coach for some of the baddest people out there in the endurance training world. Just ordinary people, everyday folk like you and me. And I am very excited to talk to you today about a story. I was on the phone earlier with my business coach, Zach Hummel, and we were trading stories about camping with our families, camping with the kids, and how creating the right space or lack of space creates the potential for meaningful problem solving together. And I got talking about the very first time my wife and I went camping with our at then 4-month-old daughter. She's now a beautiful 7-year-old girl. And he pointed out to me, hey man, that's a great story. You should write that up or you should do a podcast. So here we are, less than 3 hours after that phone call ended. And I have nothing on tap other than this story, some of the ideas that we were bandying about, swirling around when it comes to using challenge to create meaning. And that's something that's right up the wheelhouse of the athletic philosopher. Ain't that what we want to be doing with sports and physical training, is taking the challenge, the physical effort required in long runs or heavy lifts or playing sports, just training in general, right? And then utilizing that challenge as an effective orientation, right? For purpose, for meaning, for self-discovery, for self-exploration, for self-mastery. And what better way to break through from the comforts of the modern world than to head out with all your gear, sleep on the ground with your kids in a tent. So we're going to go down that route. And just like with all of these episodes, we're just going to hit record, which we already did, and we'll just see what happens. Now, I'm not sure I want to jump right into the story. Let's keep a little bit of drama here. Let's talk conceptually first about why I want to talk about a story that involves camping in a tent with my 4-year-old daughter. There's also some thunderstorms and rain that are going to make their way into this equation as well. But I want to start off talking about this idea of boundaries. Boundaries on space is one of the hallmarks of the modern world. And especially when it comes to our families, let's just think about how crucial the boundary is of the bedroom door. For most of human history, people lived in one-room homes with all their kids, likely some grandparents, likely some animals too. So there was always this close physical proximity to everybody in your family all the time. The modern world creates unbelievable luxury, unbelievable convenience, unbelievable comfort through the unleashing of technological prowess. And so we get more space. We get bigger homes for less money. We get the average person now has the ability to have something called a bedroom. And if we have kids, guess what? They have their own bedrooms too. And it's something that I've been thinking about for a while, right? How The boundaries of physical space within our homes create a distance between the members of the home. And you might think, are you really suggesting it's better to live in a tiny house with one room and everybody on top of each other all the time, and you sleep and you poop and you eat and you cook all in the same place? No, I don't want to go back there. I'm just simply looking at the trade-offs. I'm looking at the trade-offs. You can't gain anything in this world without giving something up. So if you want to gain space away from your family with a bedroom door, well, what do you give away? You give away intimacy. You give away figuring it out together. You give away moments of meaning. You give away a lot of the serendipity that happens when you're just in close proximity with people all the time. Here's a good way that we can think about this. Serendipity is only possible when I'm always around other people, right? Serendipity just being like that, oh, we happen to meet at the right time, at the right moment, in the right place to do the right thing for the right reason. I used to live in the country. I used to live in a tiny little village with less than 1,000 people. The serendipity is the same thing, seeing your neighbors walk into the one or two buildings in the little village every single day. The serendipity becomes routine. It becomes predictable. But in a big city, like I'm living in the suburbs of Chicago right now, like millions and millions and millions of people live here. I went for a run downtown on the Lakeshore Trail right by Lake Michigan there, coming right up into the Magnificent Mile, right in the heart of downtown Chicago. And I have a friend, right? And we're running, and within 2 miles, he sees somebody from his running club running the same trail. And he asks him, hey, what are you running today? Oh, 10 easy ones. Great, we're running 7. You want to come with us? Perfect. The lack of physical space in between people in a big city creates the potential for serendipity, creates the potential for me to see somebody I know when I wasn't planning on seeing them, and then, look at that. Maybe we can go grab coffee or something, or maybe we can go run 6 miles together by the lakeshore. So this lack of physical space between us, right? Population density much higher in a big city than it is way out in the country, creates the opportunity for meaning. Creates the opportunity for relationships to grow, build, and become strengthened together. And when we live atomized off from each other in our own solo rooms, well, all we're doing is creating a barrier to meaning making. And one of the ways in which we create meaning together as a family is problem solving our challenges together. Now you see why talking about a family camping trip might be very important if we want to harness the ability of challenge to grow in our lives, to grow in our characters, to grow in our capacity to do hard things that are worthwhile and meaningful in our lives. Another thing on boundaries. The right boundaries create the correct environment for maximal freedom. This is why we have an inbounds and an out of bounds in sports. A soccer game doesn't make sense if I can't kick it out and then I got to throw the ball back in. A soccer game doesn't make sense without a half line determining when I can be offside or when I can't be offside. Doesn't make much sense without the 18-yard penalty box where the goalie can handle the ball inside of the lines but not outside of the lines. So even the playing field in sport is a perfect representation of why we need boundaries, of why we need rules, of why we need limitations on action in order to create the possibility for freedom, right? Within the right rules of soccer, I now have absolute freedom to play the game as I see fit. And because there are rules and because I voluntarily submit to the form of the rules, I can express myself. I can realize myself through the proper limitations. So boundaries can alienate us from each other if they're the incorrect boundaries, but if they're the correct boundaries, they can bring us together in a space of maximal meaning and potential for freedom. Let me throw one more conceptual thing here before I get into story time. When I tell you about this camping story that Zach says, you must share, you must share. Fine, I'm here, I'm sharing, I'm doing it, right? We're all good. There's something about the modern world that grants us all this comfort, all this convenience, and all this space apart from each other, at least historically speaking. It distorts our understanding of what is meaningful. Modernity, at its most simple, is simply the rule of progress. That's what modernity is. Modernity is progress is king. Always getting better. Always getting the new piece of technology that is about to solve whatever problem is out in the world faster. Speed is a big time hallmark of modernity. The modern age maybe starts with the steam engine. Maybe it starts with the idea revolution that creates the steam engine, but ultimately that's what drives this modern world is speed. Just think about how angry you get when your phone takes 1 or 2 extra seconds to download something and you don't have it instantaneously. You go nuts because your expectation is it's got to be faster than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We've got to be getting better. We've got to be improving. We've got to be progressing. Everything's got to get more efficient, more effective, faster, less resources. We need bigger homes that cost less. We need faster cars that take less gas. And so this speed gets us off track for what's truly meaningful. What matters most is the signal from the inside. It's not the status and the external signal towards other people. But modernity pits us into these unnatural competitions with ourselves and with others where we're competing for stuff, where we're competing for status, where we think the next promotion, the next new car, the next fancy vacation is the thing that's ultimately going to make me happy. People got all this stuff, but they ain't got no purpose. They call the modern age the age of the meaning crisis. And again, I'm not here to say technology is all bad. I'm simply here to assess the trade-offs that we have to make when we live in a technologically determinate world, and technology is all around us. You can tell this is something I've been thinking about quite a bit. It's funny how these podcasts work. I've been reading 2 books recently, Walden and Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. These are both like philosophical treatises on how the heck do we come to terms with living in the modern age and all this technology, which gives us great things but makes us feel like crap. It's because we're not properly putting the right boundaries in place on where the progress in technology stops and where my desire for purpose begins. And purpose is only ever related to overcoming a challenge. You talked about boundaries. The right boundaries create the correct environment for maximal freedom. Well, guess what, friends? Freedom is only possible through a process of continual overcoming. It's one of my tags, by the way. I'll repeat it. Freedom is only possible through a process of continual overcoming. The moment you stop, the moment you plateau, the moment you start losing your ability to act freely. Because freedom is effectively your agency to overcome challenge rather than shrink and be dominated by the external limitations or the internal limitations you place on your own action. We always must be overcoming. There's always got to be challenge, which means I can't have purpose if I want to live and aim myself towards comfort, which is what the modern world tells me to do, is go for the comfort. So now that we're all warmed up contextually, thank you, Mr. Historian and Mr. Philosopher, for providing that. Happy to oblige, team. Let's go into the story. And then once we're done with the story, we'll extract out why camping with your family is something you probably got to go do. And if you don't have a family, go backpacking. And if you don't like to hike, go trail run. If you don't like the trail run, just lose yourself in the woods for a couple hours, okay? Just something like that. But anyways, we'll tie that up a bit later. Let's get to the story time because I promised the story. All right. I did not grow up camping. Let's just say Jewish people in the outdoors don't mix very well. Jewish people, we have a collective history of suffering that's ingrained so deeply into our individual and collective psyches that the idea of purposefully going to do something that's uncomfortable is a little bit strange because, well, let's face it, a lot of the existence of Jewish people is based in discomfort. We're almost always living in places where we are guests, where we are foreigners, where we are not like the majority. So there's always a little bit of tension in the ways in which we have to interact and live in these other places. And so Jews are not necessarily interested in going out and braving the elements. We tend to do a lot of our battles intellectually with the texts, with our sacred scrolls. So I didn't grow up camping, but my wife, she came from a extraordinarily, we'll say, an extraordinarily adept camping family. My father-in-law was a scout leader and an expert backpack camper. He had a hobby of collecting little camping stoves. And so she has a tremendous amount of experience camping. And not just like glamping, throwing everything in your car and pitching the tent, like 2 feet away from your car and having everything there. Like backwoods, portaging, right? Like strapping everything on your backpack and going off for a few days in the woods with all your food, with all your gear, and just, at the mercy of it all. And she was the one who, I would say, awakened a love of camping and of the outdoors inside of me, because it was something that I always appreciated but never really had the opportunity to experience growing up. And I always loved like flags in the forest or bushwhacking through some of the trails, or even like just camping with the homies out at the local conservation area on the weekends, sometimes in the tent, and just doing things that normal high school guys do on a Friday or Saturday night. Anyways, so my wife and I have gone camping many times. We went on a backwoods portaging trip the day after we had our engagement party with a bunch of our friends. And before we had kids, it was something we were doing 2 times a year, just the 2 of us. And we had just established a really great rhythm and love of packing up our cars, getting out into nature. Heck, we started like driving to the rural place in Ontario where we eventually moved because we just love hiking. We love getting out into nature. We love adventuring. My wife's done a lot of adventuring in her life. She was a pilot. Her whole life is an adventure. She's just awesome. And I just appreciate that she was willing to push me out into these uncomfortable places that really alerted me to kind of who I was on the inside. And it's no surprise that I just like fell in love with trail running the moment I did it, the very first time I had done it. But, in 2018, we welcomed our daughter, Lillian, into the world. Beautiful March baby right at the end of winter. And we were just thinking, is she going to be old enough to go camping? Is it possible that we could take her with us? And we didn't really settle on any date or firm idea of when we could do this. So it just so happened that, by the time she was 4 in July, we felt confident that, yeah, Let's do it. Let's go out on a big adventure. We'll take the 4-month-old. We'll sleep in the tent. We'll have these great memories. We'll get some photos. Like, she's not going to remember it, but it's going to be something that can inform her about who she is and how we're going to live when she's older. We can show her the pictures of her in the tent. We can show her that we went and pushed her stroller through the trails. We can show you that, we were cooking our food over the fire, all those kind of fun things. So we're living in Ontario, up in our rural village of 1,000 people. And we go, and when we go camping, it's like we're going to a lake. Ontario's filled with lakes. When we lived in Toronto, we would drive up north to the shores of Lake Simcoe, and we would camp there. We wanted to go to one of the Great Lakes, though, so we drove south to Lake Erie, and we got a spot at a very famous campground called Turkey Point. And, we pack up all of our gear. It's the three of us. It's the first adventure. Like, we are very excited. And we get to the campground, it's a little bit late. We set up our camp. It's kind of in the dark. We make a rude meal. The baby's still breastfeeding, so we don't got to make any food for them, for her, thank goodness. But, I make a crude meal over the fire. And we end up having a great kind of first day, first night at the campsite. We've got the beautiful photos of us holding our daughter with our headlamps on inside of the tent. She sleeps pretty well. And we're off to like this great first day in our adventure. Like, it's just wonderful. We're having a great time. The next day, I get up, I go for a run, and I see that there's like a decent place where we could maybe take the stroller, to take the stroller out for a hike. And then we're so excited, like, oh yes, first stroller hike, not just like pushing it down a gravel path or something like that, but like over the rocks and the roots and on the dirt path and out to this point where we're going to go and see the lake, and it's going to be beautiful, and we'll get this beautiful shot with the three of us, and it'll be a great adventure. And it's just one of those things you're not thinking about with camping. You're not necessarily thinking about the forecast. You're not thinking about what could happen. You're just sort of operating in this. Everything is comfortable. Everything is going great. It's kind of like the illusion we have in our climate controlled houses, right? That, oh, it's all warm and good. And when it's cold in the winter, my furnace will heat up. And when it's hot in the summer, my AC will cool on. And if it's raining, my roof will keep me dry. No problem. And we make this fatal flaw. We make this fatal mistake when we leave the campsite, right? Our camp has some windows where you can just air it out. And you got a 4-month-old inside of a tent. Odors can start to become a little bit of a problem. So let's keep the windows open. We'll get some nice fresh air when we come back in the tent. Not going to smell like the inside of our 4-year-old's diaper, right? Like, woo, let's go. So we start walking. We're doing this out and back hike. Takes us roughly, I don't even know, maybe 30 minutes or so to walk out to this lookout point. But there's something that's going on as we're walking out. Like, the dark clouds are starting to roll in. And it's starting to get kind of that feeling on the inside of your stomach. Like, this ain't good. Like, this ain't good. Like, we're about to get hit with some weather that we were not expecting. And lo and behold, my wife, who's, saves the day so many times, she just threw in the rain cover. Right? Oh, maybe there'll be a lot of bugs. Right? Let's make sure that the babies can be protected from the mosquitoes, because we're walking through the woods. It's July in Canada. It's mosquito season. So at least we have this little plastic tarp. But all of a sudden, right, we get to the turnaround, and I'm not talking like little raindrops. I'm talking full-blown thunderstorm. Like the kind that does make you, the hair on your neck stand up. And we are the farthest away from where we started, and we got to get this little one back. We got to get this little one back, okay? She's still only 4 months old, and we're in the middle of a downpour. Like a northern tsunami of sorts, where the raindrops are so big they start to hurt you. And there's so much rain you can barely even see like 10 feet ahead. And this nice sort of like bumpy dirt trail that we were just walking on is now mud pit. Like absolute mud pit. It's gut check time. Now, at this point, I've been running trails for a good number of years, and I've been running trails in pretty much anything you can throw at me, especially in the summer where, if it's run day and there's black clouds, I'm about to race the thunder. And I did that a couple times, like right through thunderstorms and lightning kind of crashing all around you. I have this one memory out in Toronto going to Rouge Park where I literally, the moment I got there, the clouds opened up and I just thought, man, I just drove all the way out here. Ain't no way I'm turning around. I don't have the right gear, but I'm going out. And within the first 5 minutes of the run, I took a wrong turn to go down this super slick hill. But who did I see there? I saw this incredible stag. I saw this incredible deer that was just running through the forest in this thunderstorm like it had no care in the world. And I just thought, man, I want to be like that. And I just kept going. And I went deeper and deeper into the storm until I turned around at the point where, my out and back just simply went. And I began to appreciate the importance of facing sort of the challenge of nature when your whole point is to go out and face the challenge of nature, not to necessarily make it easier on yourself. So I've got, I would say, a good sense of urgency, but also patience and calm in this moment where we are, 30 minutes out from even making it back to the road. And it might even be longer than that because we're not pushing this stroller on a nice dirt trail anymore. Like now we're pushing it back through the mud. Okay. And at no point was this 4-year-old child in any real danger. Like they're dry, they're warm. She's laughing. She's loving this whole experience because there's raindrops that are hitting this plastic covering. There's all these new sounds. There's the wind. Like she's loving this. She's having a great time. So it's not as if, the newborn is in real big trouble. It's just that mom and dad feel awful. That we're in a bad spot. We somehow got to get this baby back. And oh my gosh, we left the tent open. What's our tent gonna like? How much water is gonna be in our tent? Like, are our clothes all flooded? Like, what's happening here? Like, there's a lot of panic, but we know how to stay calm. And I just simply default into this sort of trail running mode where, hey, if we just keep moving forward, like we're gonna make it out of here. And my wife, right, she says, listen, I want you to leave the two of us here. I want you to go back. I want you to close up the tent, and I want to make sure that all of our stuff is dry. And I just remember turning back to her and thinking, that is insane. There's no chance I'm leaving the two of you alone on this trail without me. I am glad to run as fast as I can back to the campsite once we get back out to the road. Because once we get back out to the road, there's like the camp office is right there. And so I make the plan. I'm like, no. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to push the stroller. You're going to walk in front of me. We're just going to put our heads down and we're going to move. Okay? And the moment we get out to the road, you're going to take the stroller. You're going to go inside of the camp office and I'm going to sprint back, figure out what the heck the camp looks like. I'll bring the car. You guys will get in the car and we're going to go get some hot food because we're going to earn it. Let's go. And we just plow through the mud. We plow through the puddles. Like there's times where we got to both pick up this stroller because it was not going to go over that tree that just kind of fell down because of the wind, or this mud is way too thick. It can't get pushed in without getting stopped. Right. So it does take us like 45 minutes. Man, it felt like an eternity, honestly, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It was a little bit of a challenge. It was a little bit of discomfort, but we were never in any like mortal danger. We were never, and like the kid was never ever going to be in a bad shape. If it ever got to something like that, I would have picked the kid up and carried and like ran carrying this little 4-month-old child, right? Like your parental instincts are enough to know what real danger is and what's just like a grinding challenge, right? So we make it out to the road. I sprint, and I immediately, once I start running in this rain, I think, oh my gosh, this is what trail running is done for me. Like, trail running not only has given me the confidence that I can sprint through the mud and get to where I need to go at a fast rate, but it gave me the confidence to be calm, to look at the challenge that nature had just provided us, understand it soberly, and move through it with the type of purpose and conviction that you need in a moment of chaos. And it was then that I realized, maybe for the first time, how deeply the physical lessons will transfer over to the life lessons. Because here I am, like, just giving it down these, like, gravel dirt roads in the campsite, like, trying to get back, right? And it's just hitting me all in real time. Like, wow, trail running is just making me the best dad I can be. Like, it's making me the absolute best dad. And I get back to camp. I look inside the tent. It's not as bad as we had hoped, but it ain't good. Like, and if you've ever been out camping, if you get water in your tent, like, it's over. Like, it's over in terms of whatever comfort that you have. Everything's about to be soaking wet. You're never going to feel dry. You're never going to be warm. It's just kind of a bad deal. So I don't really think about any of that. I just zip up the windows. I get the car keys. I grab some blankets and some dry clothes for everybody. And I get in the car and I drive to the camp office. And I pick up my wife and my daughter and I say, here's a restaurant. Let's go there. And we just get some hot food. We get out of our wet clothes. We get a chance to regroup. And now I start to pull up the forecast. I'm like, okay, so that thunderstorm just hit. What do the next 3 days look like? Because that's how long we're going to be camping here for. Thunderstorms all 3 days. So we got thunderstorms, we already got a wet tent, and we got a 4-month-old baby. Now the calculation is, do we even stay? And I take a look at the radar, and I notice that there's like a 2-hour gap between where we are right now and the next time a thunderstorm hits. And I just look at my wife and I say, we're going to go back. We're going to pack. We're going to cut our losses. We're going to pack up the tent. We're going to get home because I don't want to risk getting this child sick by being in a wet environment for 3 days when we don't really need to do this anymore. And that's what we did. And I'm telling you this story for a whole bunch of reasons. I already actually told you why I'm telling it because I was told to tell it to you, but it's also a great story. It's also a great story. And it really is this powerful moment where the realization of the theory and the concept come together in beautiful harmony with each other. The right boundaries, sleeping in the tent, the three of us, pardon me, when most people can't bear to spend any time that close with their children. You know how many people like looked at us like we were mad when we told them we were going camping with a 4-month-old? They thought, why? Isn't that hard? Isn't that uncomfortable? Yes, and yes. That's why we want to do it. And that's why we did it. And that moment out in the woods together, when the thunder roars, right, and the raindrops fall hard, that creates a moment of meaning. That creates a moment of significant memory for my wife and I then to imprint down into our family. We got tough kids. We shy not from putting them out in the environment. Heck, we put both of them in an outdoor forest school where one day a week we drop them off at the edge of a forest and we pick them up. Rain, sleet, snow, bugs, heat, whatever it is, they're going to go out and deal with it when they're 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. Like, they're going to know what it's like to be in nature, to feel uncomfortable, and to find creative solutions on how we can make it out together. So now we've got a powerful mythology for the family. We've got meaning. We've got a direction. We've got an orientation. There's a purpose that's kind of being instilled in my wife and I. Not that we never need to do this again, but we should be a little bit more smart about how we should do this again, because this was great in a sense. The challenge brought us together. The lack of distance brought us together. We go out camping every year with our kids. We put the four of us in a small little tent together. The two kids right side by side in their sleeping bags. Let me tell you, they don't go to sleep very easily in that tent. There's something about that first night in the tent energy. Your kids just like they're wild people. It's pretty incredible actually. But the idea of like, oh, this is going to be a great comfortable night's sleep. Number one, we're sleeping on the ground. Number two, you hear everything. Number three, it's noisy at the campsite. Number four, there's bugs. It's hot. Like there could be rain. Like there's all these things that are going to get in the way of your comfort, that are going to get in the way of your planned out beautiful vacation, which is all about relaxing to the maxing. No, camping's not like that. You got to spend 30 minutes washing the dishes. You got to spend 30 minutes making the fire to cook your food. Like there's all these things that you got to do. You're slow down. You're forced to struggle. You're forced into adversity, and you're forced to do it all together. And that creates bonds. That creates memories. It creates feels in between the family. It creates memories. Nobody can go shut the door and say, don't bother me. We're all in it together. There is no shutting the door. And it's like this story is the perfect encapsulation of why we want to be doing these things, why we want to be sharing adventures with the family, why we want to be creating the opportunities to have adventures with the family, where we're all forced out of our comfort zone, where we all have to laugh a little bit of the absurdity that nature throws our way in terms of adverse weather, in terms of crickets, even that like, your kids will be like, why can't you turn off the crickets? Because we ain't in charge of the crickets, dear. We ain't in charge of the crickets. We're kind of with them, right? We're not here to rule them. We're here to be with them, type of thing. And when we were living in the country, there was a little bit of the, we can just kind of do this in our own backyard feel. But man, the second you get out of the country and you live in the city or you live in the suburbs like we're doing now, it's like all I want is that campsite. All I want is that ability to not have anything other than nature surround us so that we can all be brought into challenge together. The modern world blocks us out from internal meaning through all of the distractions, through all the rushing around, and through all the modern conveniences that technology affords us. We lose the signal. We lose the forest for the trees, guys. We lose the forest for the trees. And the forest is the meaning of our lives, and we lost it. So we got to go back into the forest. We got to go back into nature to find it, and we got to take our loved ones with us. That's how we want to use challenge to level up. That's why we want to use challenge to grow. I'm not interested in raising a family where we're always looking to max out comfort and we're looking to alienate and separate and isolate ourselves out from each other when things get difficult. I had a bad day at work, so I'm going to shut the door. I had a bad day at school, so I'm going to shut the door. Like, I get it. I do. And I want my daughter, when she's at a hard day at school, to be able to close off the door from the world and have her own space. But it also, right, it comes with the trade-off that we're not creatively solving problems together as a family, which we're forced to do when we camp together. So if I'm blocked out from meaning in my day-to-day, I have to work extra hard to cultivate those spaces where we can find the meaning. It's just like the need to play in sports because the modern world makes it too comfortable not to go out and seek discomfort or find the disadvantage or look to punch through the adversity or look to the challenge in order to grow. I need the right boundaries. I need the basketball court, right? I need the iron. I need the 4.17 mile loop of the backyard ultra. I need these things to orient me. I need the right boundaries to exercise maximal freedom. I need challenge for growth. I need sports. I need training. I need the boundaries. I need the reality. I need the truth. If modernity is defined by the drive for comfort, but the search for meaning, well, shoot, I'm not going to drive towards comfort. I'm going to drive for meaning, and the search for comfort will come from that. And I'll find comfort in the experience. I'll find comfort in the peace. I'll find comfort in the new knowledge about myself. Maybe good, maybe bad, maybe neutral, whatever it is. That's where my comfort comes. My comfort comes from not being comfortable in the comfort. Right? You can only have so many really nice hot showers before you just want to jump in a cold lake to feel something different, guys. There's something that's true about this internal drive for perfect structure. The moment you get the perfect structure, you tear it down, you rebel. You recognize that what you just did was create a prison, and all I want to do is shake things up. Shake things up, young man. Go out into the world. That's the call to adventure of the hero's journey. Shake things up. You're complacent. Your family vacations at the theme park, in the tourist traps, in the hotels with the complimentary hot breakfasts and the Wi-Fi. No. Go into the woods, get bit by black flies, have mosquitoes swirl around your head, fall into a creek, get lost on a hike, tip your canoe over. Forget to nail down your tent peg and have it blow away in the middle of the night, and you got to go figure it out while you're in your underwear. It's not going to be comfortable, but it's going to be meaningful because it's so outside of your ordinary that you're going to be forced into a new mode of action, and you're going to learn something about yourself. And if you're doing it with your family, you're all going to learn something about who you guys are as a team, as a unit. Camaraderie is forged through the struggle, and if I want my family to be a tight-knit unit, I got to put them in positions and places where they're forced to grow together through the challenge. Ain't no better way to do it right now than to pack up all your gear, head out to a campsite, pitch your tent, and spend a few days under the stars. I'm going to finish this guy off with some Thoreau quotes, because I mentioned I'm reading Walden, and Walden is all about this idea of adventure and escape into the wilderness in order to find the true inner signal that directs you towards meaning and purpose in this life. And I was just reading about this today. Isn't it just so funny? I was just reading about this, and I had this quote, and I even told this quote to Zach on our call, and he says, man, you got to send me a screenshot, and I got to get me this book. That's how good this stuff is. That's how it all swirls together, team. So here's the quote, and then we'll just figure out a way to put a feather in this cap. This is from the chapter called Higher Laws. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. It's the last page of Baker Farm. It's got these interesting chapters Thoreau does in Walden. Okay. Quote, we should come home from afar, from adventures and perils and discoveries every day with new experience and character. Bam. He's talking about just walking through the woods, going from one pond to another pond, from one field to another field, from one stream to another stream, from one forest to another forest. And how these daily sojourns out into the wilderness and the return should educate you about yourself. This is one of the reasons why daily training is so crucial for those of us who live in the modern world, because we get these little mini hero journeys every day where I get to go off. The boundaries are now different when I enter the gym, when I go for a run, when I, get on the bike. I am crossing the threshold. I'm crossing the boundary from the normal into the sacred, into a play world, into this beautiful space where the results are not contingent on anything else other than my own ability to make them happen and to make them real. Yeah, but they're sports, so I still can't lie about them. I still got to do the work, and I still have to be subject to the results and to the honesty of those results. But the daily training allows me to feel that growth through challenge. It allows me to go on an adventure. It allows me to discover something new and then to grow my character in the process. And now, let's think about the family life. Without the ability to take my family on adventure, What are we going to discover? And the adventure's got to have some peril. It's got to have a little bit of a, I'm not so sure this is a great idea. Oh no, we're really kind of in it now. Oh man, this ain't the most comfortable thing we've ever done. Good. It's not supposed to be comfortable. You ain't going to grow in comfort, guys. Come on. So we want new experience. We want new character. We want to grow. We want to show our kids that challenge and struggle is the way towards transcendence of self. I don't want them to be mediocre. I don't want them to settle. I don't want them to aim to be like everybody else. I don't want them to aim at comfort. I want them to aim at the wrong things, at money, at status, at stuff. I want them to aim for that deeper purpose, that inner signal, the thing that's directing them towards perfection, that spirit. And I need to bring them into a crucible. I need to bring them into a challenge. And youth sports are great, but they're not good enough. They're not good enough because they're also safe. They're manicured. And let's face it, the world of youth sports, they just look like the world of pro sports these days. 12-month training, nutrition specialists, athletic trainers for 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, so that they can go pro in 10 years. Give me a break. Your kid ain't going pro. He's going to a therapist because you're abusing him. That's where he's going. We need nature. We are disconnected from nature. We need the challenge that only nature can provide because it's going to throw us the variables we're not expecting. And no matter how much you plan, nature is going to show you something you didn't plan for. This is one of the reasons I love trail running. This is one of the reasons I love ultra marathons that happen outside at the behest of the elements, at the behest of the environment and the climate and the trail conditions and whatever else is out there for you. So my call here to everybody, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, is to get out into nature, get uncomfortable, go camping, go on an adventure, get a backpack, go for a walk, get lost, struggle, learn something new, return with some character growth, with some meaning, with some memories, with the resolve to continue to push through adversity and challenge and struggle. And maybe you'll have the serendipity, like I did, pushing my daughter through mud, that all the things that I'm doing to try to level up, that are pushing me to challenge, that are forcing me to grow, are all interconnected together. And it's not just body or mind or spirit, it's all of them. And they can all be in tandem, and we can live in this incredible positive feedback loop that is powered through my heart and willingness to take on challenge. That's why we train. That's why we camp as a family. All right. Peace and love, team. Talk to you in the next one.